Radha Iwa are also known as Iwa Rasani, meaning root Iwa, and are deeply connected to their worshippers, sometimes having familial names like Papa or Kusin. Yeah, so I can tell in this picture then, to wrap it up, that clearly, with this much fire that's the petwo Iwa, it would be very beneficial to separate oneself from it and, not deny it or anything, because they're sacred too, but to really embody that of the Radha Iwa at this time and to focus our energies in a Radha Iwa type of way. Because there's already plenty of the other and it needs to be balanced, right? Correct. So now we see the mauve color in the background, which I'm going to check my notes because of the word balance. I said, understand the difference between Iwa and Lawa, which we kind of see now as just that the word Iwa comes from Yoruba spirituality, but they call the intermediaries, it seems, different things. So the words can end up interchangeable, but yet they are actually something different, because in Yoruba spirituality, Iwa is a definition of the character or personalities in particular. But maybe we've got to keep learning that more, because I'm not sure I fully got it, but I feel like I'm starting to. So we just talked about the balance, right? Which is why I wanted to go over the color mauve, because they're showing that, and I'm not exactly sure why. And then I wanted to understand the Radha versus the petwo Iwa. And we should just ask briefly what are all the nations of Iwa in Haitian Voodoo? In Haitian Voodoo, the Iwa, also spelled Lua, are categorized into different nations or families, the most prominent being Radha, Petwo, and Ged. These families represent different aspects of the spiritual world and are called upon for different purposes. So it says, Radha. These Iwa are associated with the color white and are considered benevolent, representing peace, love, and harmony. So embodying that, right? It says white, embodying peace, love, benevolence, harmony. Examples include Dambala, the serpent god, and Ayida Wedo, his consort. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay. Awesome. So his consort is Ayida Wedo. Oh, if I'm saying that right. Okay, so then there's the petwo. These Iwa are associated with the color red and are known for their fiery, passionate, and sometimes volatile nature. They are often called upon for protection, justice, and strength. So it's not that they're bad, it's just that they're intense right now, as per what the reading would be saying, right? There's a strong petwo Iwa, spiritual energy, right? That's being tended to by Masa in the temple, with a peculiar, column of mauve showing in the background, which to me looked more cool, right? Representing more of like the Radha energy. So I just think, now let's see what Ged is. It says Ged. These Iwa are associated with the color black and are spirits of death and of the dead. They also are associated with healing, fertility, and the cycles of life and death. Baron Samedi is a prominent Ged figure. In addition to these major families, there are other groups and individual Iwa that can be recognized in Voodoo. Some important Iwa, like Papa Legba, who serves as a gatekeeper to the spirit world, may be associated with multiple families or exist outside of them. Okay. So I was just saying, we might want to keep that in mind, right? Like this particular card reading had to do with very powerful petwo spirits. So we've got to make sure to keep down our feelings of crack wit, fiery, and like I was reading last night some of the things about Buddhism where they talk about anger being poison. Well, with this kind of energy, anger is more of a poison than ever, so we have to be careful. But if we look at those things of which to avoid, which I don't know where that is, I just found it last night, but I have to find it in my pile of new things, when you're just skimming on Pinterest. But clearly associating ourselves with more harmonious energies balances that out, right? But I guess it's a good moment to be active, right? So it's not that the petwo are bad, it's just that they're powerful and more masculine fire, snap, crackle, like it said, gunpowder, rum energies seem to be out and about. For whatever is the reason, they're so high, but they're being tended to in the temple by Masa, and we see a big column of a kind of a cool color of what I believe you could say mauve is a cool color. Oh, I might have deleted it. That's okay, we can look it back up. So let's look up about the color mauve. All about color mauve. Mauve is a soft purplish pink color, often described as muted pale shade of purple with hints of gray and blue. Well, they don't say cool, do they? It says it sits between violet and pink on the color wheel and is named after the mallow flower, malva in French. Mauve evokes feelings of romance, nostalgia, and sentimentality, and is known for its calming and refined aesthetic. Okay, so it says evoking feelings of romance, nostalgia, and sentimentality. So, what would it mean if flames of fire are burning all around this color, right? And it says that column, at least according to this, represents romance, nostalgia, and sentimentality. So it represents calm, cozy things. Well, that would mean the fires are probably protecting it, right? So maybe the petwo or petro iwa are protecting something sacred that's quiet and private, which could just be saying, guard what you have with fervor. But I really feel like it's talking about staying alert, staying prepared, every day, like being prepared for the day. And I don't know, sometimes you just got to say you don't know. There's a big mauve column, but there's a flower. It comes from the word mauve, which someone else said mauve. I didn't read this from like the textbook about it, or not textbook, but the tarot card book, but it comes from the French word for mallow flower, malva. It says emotional associations, romance, nostalgia, sentimentality, serenity, and refinement. But that can be what being prepared does, right? Which we should be prepared every day anyway. But, if the card reading said there's an extra need to be careful, right? Because, sometimes we can get comfortable and we know we could stay asleep an extra hour, we could do this and that. But I feel like the energies are pretty intense, saying that make sure you're prepared every day. At sunrise, be prepared for the day for a while on purpose.